Are more expensive lights worth it? Well, we're going to illuminate the cheap light versus expensive light debate with a night ride. Let's begin. Night riding is awesome. There, I've said it. It's so incredible. It can shine a whole new light on your local trails, allowing you to see them in a whole new way. But do well-known brands of light really stack up against, well, those no-name brands that you might see on the internet? We're going to walk through the differences between some well-established brands and some brand names that, well, we've never heard of, and see how they perform on the trail. We're talking about lights. Yeah. 2 lights, because it's really good, especially on mountain bike trail, and especially more technical mountain bike trail, to run 2 sets of lights. And that's because, well, as you're riding, you get different depth of field from having lights in different positions, so one up on your helmet and one on the bar. Also, the other thing is mountain biking goes through wonderful, twisty, sinewy single track, and that's really fantastic. But if your handlebars are pointing one way and you've got to look another way, well, it won't be illuminated. So having a light on your helmet means you can see literally where you're looking. So having a helmet light and a bar light is pretty much essential for mountain biking. We bought some fairly cheap lights from a factory to consumer portal website. Hopefully that covers all for all the different websites that you can get it. We made sure it was a mountain bike one, and we made sure that it was waterproof as well. Although confusingly, the list on this one initially said waterproof, and then when we checked again, it wasn't waterproof. For both of these lights, the cost was £21.59, including shipping. This is the packaging that it came in. It's not that jazzy, but hopefully it's got everything we need. Okay, we've got the box, which I think has got the lights in, yeah, and then we've got, okay, lots of bolts, a couple of elastic bands. I feel like that's the mounting hardware. Right, let's have a look at the lights. Right, here we go. Okay, we've got the light itself, which is, okay, on the description it did say it was all aluminium construction, but this isn't all aluminium. These end caps and sort of the end point of if it was dropped, they're plastic. It also lists both 10,000 lumens and 5,000 lumens as the maximum output, which I've got to admit is quite confusing. But we've got the light, it's all one piece, so that's quite nice. We've got a very unique mounting bracket, probably more on that later. USB, no instructions. Okay, that'll be a bit of choose your own adventure to how it charges and all of those kind of things. Okay, so that's the handlebar light. We also got a helmet mounted one as well. So this one is sort of similar. Right, we've got a round mount, so I guess you could mount it on a handlebar. This one you can mount as a headlamp. Thankfully this helmet's got 2 mounts, so I'll be able to run it. We've got a charger. That's an upgrade on the other box. We've got the light unit itself. Okay, that looks pretty much as advertised, although just going to be mounting it with elastic bands, so that's not stellar, but it's there. It lists a max of 2,000 lumens. We've got a fairly long cable. Here's a little battery pack. It is very small, looks fairly tough. I think it might make a bit of rattling noise. I just wanted to check the battery because this one also said it was waterproof. Feels like it's been sealed with cardboard on the ends. Not sure that cardboard is waterproof. Okay, that's what you can get at the sort of cheaper end of the scale. As an example of a more premium brand or a brand name of lights, we've got these Outbound lights. I mean, they are a relatively small firm. They're based in the US. We've got a combo here of the Evo Trail and the Hangover helmet mount, and coming in at £290 for both lights. So this is the Trail Evo. So this is the nice little box we've got here. Okay, so what have we got? We've got the light and mounting hardware all set up already. That's nice. Got a little cardboard bit. Okay, we've got USB charging unit. That's great. Oh wow, we've even got an Allen key to adjust the clamp. Nice. Ooh, okay. This is really nerdy, but for me, this is really exciting. I know, instruction manuals. Who would have thought? Multi-page, loads of details. Yeah, it's nice. So listings wise, this one only has 2,200 lumens, which I've got to say does sound a lot lower, but In the instruction manuals, there's lots of details about all the different modes, including one called adaptive, which will change how bright the light is. So it'll start off quite bright and then dim a little bit until it gets to a good base level. And that should last for 155 minutes. There's another 3 additional main full beam modes and also 2 flashing modes. It's all listed in the instructions there. And the light itself is really neat and tidy. It's very compact and the clamp looks like it's really simple to use, so no puzzling required. Okay, and here's the helmet light. This one's called the Hangover, fun name. It's fully wireless, so unlike the other system, I haven't got any batteries. It's just this. It's really slimline. It uses an action camera mount. Now, how long does it run? Well, it can run, again, it's got an adaptive setting where it peaks this high bright mode, which drops down a little bit while you're riding, and that can run for a whole 100 minutes. There's lots of other settings too, so you've got 3 other full solid light modes, and then you've got 2 flashing modes. Again, there's loads of details because it's got full instructions. Interesting. Real puzzle here, lots of parts. They look like they might fit together, but they're not really fitting together. So I'm gonna have to sort of bodge it. And as I've got no instructions, I'm really lost. It's like these would work on, well, some road bikes, but not all. So I've got a fix instead, which is using a Garmin mount, slightly modified, to run it. I think that'll work. And I'm just gonna have to put 1 bolt in, I think, because all the standards on this one are all subtly different. Okay, it's not ideal, it's a bit wobbly and it's only held on by 1 bolt. So yeah, hopefully I'll ride really smoothly, because if this gets any kind of serious knock, I think it's gonna come unstuck. It's unfortunate. Got high hopes for this. Now we're gonna mount the light to the helmet. Now you should be really careful about this. It's really tempting to use zip ties or really solid mounts, but you need to use either a dedicated mount if one's available, or just be mindful that you want the light to break away in an impact. Why? Well, your helmet's designed to absorb impacts in a certain way, and if you bolt a really large structure to it that's immobile, well, A, you could twang your head on branches, or if you do crash, well, it might impact the strength of the helmet. This Smith helmet's got its own mounting hardware, so we're going to use that, and we're going to use this round bracket that also comes in that mounting hardware to mount the light. Here goes. Okay, that's the light mounted. There's a little bit of adjustment. It's actually not that tight, but well, apart from shimming it out, there's not that much we can do. Well, we'll go with that. Now we've got to work out where we're going to put the battery pack. The battery's not too heavy, but ideally I don't really want to put it on the helmet, because that's going to adjust and change the center of gravity. It's also quite high already, so even on my head, even as secure as the helmet is, it feels a bit wallaby and sort of odd. Okay, right. Thankfully this Camelback has got some nice pockets just here. I mean, the pocket is in a perfect place. It's less than ideal with this cabling. Maybe I'll be able to run it underneath. No, there's no space. Can run it, yeah. I guess I can run it under here to keep it from rattling too much. There we go, that'll do for now, I think. Right, that's the entry-level lights fitted. Okay, for the Hangover headlamp, it's an action cam mount, so that works really well with this Smith helmet. So I've just got to plug that in the right way round. Yep, thread that through there. And as it's all one-piece design, it should just plug in. And then I'll be able to adjust it a little bit on the fly. Tighten up a little bit more. Right, that was quite simple, wasn't it? Okay, we've got the clamp set up here, which is nice and adjustable. And we've got the bar clamp, so we can run it in a couple of different configurations. I think we'll try it this way. So it's a split design, so it should be nice and easy to mount. But essentially we've got a wing nut here to adjust the angle, and then we can just sort of adjust the height of where the light is and make sure it's not being sort of attacked by any leads, but it's very simple. The Asia Pacific region is a global leader in semiconductors. They make some of the highest quality electronic consumer goods on the planet. So it's no surprise that some of the brands that we see on these portal websites are brands that we've not heard of in the US or in Europe. Are all the brands up and coming, big brands, big players to be? Some of them probably are, but some of them aren't. What do I mean? Well, some of them that we saw were really inspired by designs of other big brands of lighting. And inspired is fine, copying is not. Counterfeiting is definitely not. Officially, all of these portals don't do that. They don't take other people's intellectual property and regurgitate it. But you do have to be really careful on these portals, because sometimes the picture looks really good and what you get delivered is very different. So make sure you take care when you're buying from these portals, because sometimes it's not as good as it looks. The big brands have really helped develop both the LED technologies and the batteries that we've got now, making them really consistent and cohesive as a package, which I guess is one reason why it's been really popular to have a head torch and a bar mounted one, is these big brands invested in the technology to have these smaller slimline designs. And that's another thing actually, is that they work really hard on making sure that the lights are easy to set up and easy to mount. Yes, that costs time and it does cost money. I guess the other thing is that they're moving away from this race of just bigger lumens and bigger numbers, because it's not just about a bigger number. Well, you might think it is, but it's not. And I'll tell you why. Beam pattern, that's why. So how those LEDs use those potential lumens make a really big difference. And that's where the big brands really spend the money and spend the time researching and development. I think the other area where lots of the brands, be Exposure or Glowworm or Outbound Lighting, do really good work is warranty. I know you might not want them to do any work on warranty because the product should be good enough, but lots of these brands have really good warranties where if you're buying any electronic component, you'd want that. But especially one where, especially in the UK, you're going to have lots of time on the light in the wet, the cold, maybe even the snow. And if it fails, well, it might not just be just a crap short ride, it's going to be a long walk in the dark home. Okay, right, now we're on the factory to consumer portal lights. Immediately, I've got a really strong sort of spotlight on my headlamp, but it's a really round sort of small spot lamp. It's a real small spot. Let me sort of demonstrate. There you go. So there's a really small ball, small circle of light in the center, and then there's not a lot of fall off. So it's really harsh around the edge. So it's hard to sort of gauge distance on it. Okay, so that's my most powerful setting, I think. It's a good spot, but it's that beam pattern. So the peripheral sort of throw of the handlebar light is good. It's a really quite broad beam, to be fair, but there's not a lot of throw in the middle. You'd think this combination would sort of work quite a lot better together, but again, they've not really been designed to work better. Oh, I think we just had a bit of pivoting there from the bracket. The bracket is a bit of a distraction, I must admit, as is the cable. This top headlamp was 2000 lumens, and this bar mount here is meant to be 10,000, but because that beam pattern is just a bit all over the place, it's just not as rideable. Oh, there's something definitely rattling. Crap. Well, that's not good, is it? Well, it's still on. That helps. Well. Oh dear. Okay, a great example just there. Quite a quick corner where I needed to look further ahead than the bar light was doing. So the bar light gives me this wonderful deep long pull that's really wide, and then this headlamp is actually a spot, so it gives me just that extra long distance depth perception. The other thing that we need to talk about is also the colour. The light temperature is going to be different, so it can be brighter and whiter, or bluer and colder, or warmer. And all of these different factors mean that the light works in different ways and works on your eyes in different ways. So there's a lot going on in light, and it's not just a number. On the trail, it wasn't a numbers game, and it was really interesting. On paper, these lights should have been fantastic. They've got loads more lumens. This one, well, depending on which number you looked at, was either 5,000 or 10,000, so that's at least double the other lights. But the other light's beam pattern was much better. How it used its light on the trail was much better. It was easier to ride faster with that light. And that's not thinking about how the clamp worked and how easy it was to set up. And it's not thinking about the peace of mind that you get from a real company that is going to back you up with spares, and you're not going to have to worry about things catching on fire, which batteries in these units are really packed with energy, and fires can happen. This lamp on my head got really hot. Maybe that was me not going fast enough. Maybe on a commute it would be okay. I think the other thing that sort of gave me peace of mind was that the other lamps, they just worked. It was quite a seamless experience. With this one, well, the clamp didn't really work, and it's already really rattly, and I haven't knocked it. I think the other thing that scared me is that I could see light shining through the end caps here, which made me think that it's really not waterproof. So maybe for very casual use, it could work really well. But I think for proper mountain biking, out on the trails, out in the middle of nowhere where you need reliability, I think it's worth investing in the more expensive lights. For me, that night ride experience really reignited the ride experience. I'm really looking forward to heading out every night. Well, I'm lying, as much as I can, because it is such a good experience and you can pack in so much riding, and because you're cocooned by all that you can see is what's lit in front of you, it's a really immersive experience. It feels like you've been out on the bike a lot longer than you actually have. What lights are you using? What trails are you riding at night? Do you ride exactly the same trails? Let us know in the comments below.